Worked for a streaming company. Edit, sorry for my bad spelling. English is not my native language. Just to be 100%, I won't give you any names. I work now for about 3 years in customer service. In this time, I worked for 3 months as a tech support agent for a huge streaming company. It was this classic did you try turning it off and on again type of job. So yeah, it was pretty easy. But the customers. OOF. I have so many stories from my time as customer service agent. But this one especially gave me the biggest OOF effect. One day, a lady called claiming she has login issues. She used a smart and I thought she probably just had a typo, which is pretty common if using a remote, so I asked her, can you tell me what kind of message pops if you enter your login details? Her, yes, email is already taken. I realized she must have clicked on register instead of login. Fun fact. This too happens a lot, mostly with older people. Me, okay, I see, you must have clicked on the wrong button. Just go a few steps back to see the main menu again in order to help the customer as good as possible. We had guides of each possible device. So I knew she had to go like 3 steps back. Me, go back. Her, yes. Me, again 1 step. Her, okay. Me, and go back again. Her, I can't. Me, why? Did you receive some kind of error message? Her, no, but I am already at wall of my room, I can't go further. It took me about 30 seconds to realize that she literally moved back from the TV. Thank God this is over. Don't get me wrong, the job was pretty easy, but I had calls like this on a daily basis. 45 minutes calls explaining an old lady how to reset her password, or explaining a guy why he can't get a refund for a missing day after he locked his account. After that I worked for a big travel company in customer service. Your software keeps uninstalling itself, we want a refund. This customer refused to get training after purchasing almost every product we have. We provide a certain window of free support just to make sure they get running smoothly even if they don't want proper on-site training, which isn't free, so the cheap customers never get it. About a month after the free support ends we start getting calls that the software has uninstalled itself. We connect remotely and reinstall, get them set up, restore the data from a backup, etc. This goes on for a couple months, almost every week. That's when the owner calls and wants a conference call with management to discuss a refund. I'm on the call and this is my first time hearing about it, so I request remote access to check some things out. When our software uninstalls, it logs all the details and takes screenshots. And there, in a folder that isn't the install folder, I check the logs. Their IT professional, who was the owner's nephew, was logging in and uninstalling, clicking all the OK and are you sure buttons. The owner yelled at us for snooping and being unethical, but they didn't get a refund. The owner didn't seem shocked or even try to deny it, so I'm sure he had devised this as a plan to get a refund because he didn't want to take the time to learn how to use the software. Client, it's the printer's fault. One of the clients that I had in the past used a customized database system to create /track invoices. One day I get a call from one of their offices from a client complaining that something is wrong with their printer. Me, what issue are you having with the printer? User, it's printing the wrong information on the invoices that I'm generating. It has the wrong date and address. We moved to a new office about a month ago and it's still printing our old address. You need to fix the printer. Me, okay. What is the invoice number that you are having issues with? Also, I will need your new address so I can update it in the database. User, it's the printer. The printer name is Company X /printer 1234. Me, that is not what I asked for. I need the invoice number to see if there is a data entry error and your new address so I can update the database with it. User, no. It's the printer that is the problem. Fix the printer. Needless to say, I had to go around this user to get the information I needed. Checking the invoice, it was a data entry error by that user, and after fixing that and updating their office's address in the database, the invoice printed with the correct information. The person probably still thinks that it was the printer to this day. When 2 old folks come into a wireless retail store, you already know it's gonna be hell. I work at a wireless retail store. Yesterday I had this woman in her 60s come in, with her husband who had lost his phone. They didn't want to do an insurance claim and just wanted to upgrade. I told them even if they'd got a new phone, there was no way for us to transfer the data from the old phone to the new phone since they didn't have the old one on them. Immediately they started throwing questions at me, specifically if I was in training. I have only been there 4 months, and don't have tons of experience, so I am still getting used to the sales part, but I know how to do the job and understand the basics of our systems. I responded and told her no. From start to finish she questioned everything I did and said, bothering my co-worker every few minutes even though he was clearly busy helping some other customers because he knew how to do it. At the beginning, she told me she didn't know much about phones. And then as we went on, she started telling me I didn't know what I was doing, that I had to do such and such first, and made negative comments about literally everything. She made it clear she was worried about her husband not being able to keep his number. I told her not to worry, and that it wouldn't be a problem. I went and got out the new SIM card, and began to update it, but our system was moving slow, it was just taking forever to load. While waiting for it to kick up, her husband asked me what he would need to do in order to make his old device inaccessible in case it was stolen. I explained he'd have to call customer care, explain it to them, and request they block the IMEI. Device blocking isn't something we can do on our end, the company policy. Immediately his wife chimed in, yes you can. They did it for us last time. She turned to my co-worker, and immediately lost her shit. Sir. Can you come over here and help her since you know what you're doing? Last time we were able to transfer the number and didn't have to call any numbers. Like, we weren't even talking about that. He explained exactly what I said to her, and she continued to pester him. The rest of the process went rather smoothly, but I could hear them complaining under their breath about everything. When they came in, they specifically asked for the iPhone 11. They kept making comments about how small the phone was, and how it always took 2 hours when they came to a store. I mean, don't come in then. Maybe buy a more expensive, and bigger phone next time. It's always a pain in the ass working with older people like this. Especially when they're never satisfied with anything. Null Island. I'm a web developer, and I'm currently working on a project that involves a Google Maps module which displays data points for thousands of trials of Canadian farming data. The other day, we imported the most recent data sheets, and noticed that there was one pin that was obviously incorrect. All of our data points should be in Canada, and this one was in the Atlantic Ocean off the coast of Africa. My colleague took a look at the data, and found that the data the client had provided was missing a lat and long for this trial. So, the trial was showing up on Null Island, https://en.wikipedia.org/wiki/Null Island, which is not in fact an island, but rather a lone buoy that marks the intersection of the equator and the prime meridian, or 0 degree 0 degree. Ridiculous expectations. Received a call today from a customer who recently purchased software, Office 365, through our online store. They wanted to know when we'd be installing the software. I explained I could assist with downloading and installing the application, but that we don't actually do it for customers. The guy seemed like this was unreasonable and actually expected us to install the Office applications on 60 computers in their office. He was like, what am I paying you $900 a month for? I explained that's for email, Office applications, and other collaboration tools like Teams. His response was, well, how do I use them if you don't install them? Where the hell do these people come from? What software do you buy and the reseller come to your office and install it? Except expensive specialty software that requires thousands in professional services to get up and running. If he bought Office from Walmart, would he have expected them to install it for him? Video cost cuts. This is a continuation of my previous posts, especially check where you pay for your software. This post will address some questions from the comments and hopefully leave you more bewildered. One sunny day in hell, some spawn of Satan decided that people should be able to see a TV screen from space. Thus the video was born. There are many variations on the concept, but it's basically a huge TV screen. Now the most modern take on it in the mid-2010s were fold plasmas 3-6-9-12. The sky is the limit, all connected to a proprietary device, a very expensive one. Now techs were, at that time, obsessed over a cute little kitten called Raspberry. And they had so many dreams and plans with it that they considered it a solution to every problem. Someone even made a server with those puppies. Anyway, in our story, some smart guy decided that a video could work very well with an AP and some basic splitters. This basically cut the proprietary device out and cut the cost tenfold. Good job. Now back to our little story. We had a few of these things at first, and apparently clients loved them. They loved them so much in fact that we had to install as many as we could. Now installation is simple and straightforward, configuration is complicated but straightforward. And at about no 10 in, we found out that the first ones were failing. A bug? Not really, everything worked as intended, except once we left one running, it was at the mercy of power outages. And the power outages had a very bad habit of resetting the signal source. So after a while they would all turn to a black screen. A fix was already in place, we left remote controls so they could all be set to the proper source. Yet nobody was able to do so, for some reason. Well, you see, professional screens have two identical DMI inputs and an extra DisplayPort, and newer models even had built-in video, a feature using DisplayPort output and input ports. And so the story of fixing the videos begins. First order of business, go to all videos and place the DMI on input no 1. 10.000 kilometers and an oil change later done. Now they should be fixed, right? Technically yet, you would use a remote and set the input to DMI 1. Voila. Except, randomly, and without proper cause, 1, 2 or even 3 TVs would not respond, and you got a video working with a missing piece. This was so bad that we went to order of business number 2, discover the issue. 100 phone calls later, another 10.000 kilometers. And an oil change, done. Every video had one IR receiver and the signal was then passed to unscreened cheap jack cables. You know, the cheapest ones possible. So our trusty supplier recommends a $10 cable. It has gold plating, double sleeve, noise damping layer. Oh, did I mention the noise? Some contractors installed 9 HDMI cables running too close to one of the power lines. Not even one was usable. And they didn't even have a noise screen. Anyway, the problem is solved. I get this to every manager. All 25-cent cables have to be replaced with $10 cables and your videos will run forever. I got reprimanded for attempting to make unjustifiable extra costs. I did get one video running with expensive cables, and rumor has it that it still runs today. As for the rest, they were decommissioned 1 year later because they required one full-time employee with a company car, constantly setting the videos.